All right. Hello, everyone. There we are. We finally got there. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of ECC Essentials, presented by the Denise Amber Lee Foundation. I'm Nathan Lee. I'm the president and founder of the Denise Amber Lee Foundation, and I am joined by the amazing Halcyon Frank.
And I am Halcyon. I'm Director of Training and Development for the Denise Amber Lee Foundation, and we are kicking this series off today.
Yeah, so our idea behind this podcast series is mainly to kind of like a webinar podcast hybrid, if you will. We are going to have this available on a few of the podcast channels that you get podcasts from, like Apple and Spotify. But we just wanted to create another training opportunity. We obviously are in this world, in the post-COVID era, especially in the world of public safety right now. Staffing is such a challenge to get into live trainings in person. They're still happening. I mean, I'm still traveling like crazy telling Denise's story, but we didn't think, you can never have enough opportunities to find some good training material. And so Halcyon had this awesome idea to create this series called ECC Essentials. And she's got some awesome ideas for some topics that we're gonna introduce and get into some discussions on, and have some awesome guest speakers attend with us as well. So Halcyon, I'll let you kind of elaborate on that if you'd like.
Yeah, so really excited because one of the other goals is to make this as accessible as possible. So today we have like a live broadcast. So every other Thursday at 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern, we'll do a live broadcast about 20 to 30 minutes. And then from there, we will actually be able to put it out on through YouTube, link it on our website, and then we'll actually be uploading the audios to podcast versions. So that way, no matter what you're doing, where you are, if you want to listen, you can tune in however works best for you guys. And as soon as we get going, we'll let you know kind of all the platforms that we're able to get it on as far as the podcast goes. But again, just want to make it really accessible and also short enough that, if you're in the car for a commute, you can play an episode and not feel like it's a huge time investment or anything like that, but still come away with the benefits and maybe learn a thing or two.
Yeah, as we were figuring out how this was going to work in the format of this, Halcyon and I, if any of you know us personally, we definitely have the gift of gab. And we can make this thing about a 5-hour podcast if we wanted to. And so we're like, you know what, we need to keep it under like 30 minutes, and at least shoot for 20 minutes and then see where it goes. But yeah, there's a lot of times when you see a video, it looks like something interesting, but like, wow, that's an hour long. I'm not going to sit and watch that entire hour. So, hopefully this format works. We're obviously open to any suggestions. This is kind of a new baby for us, and we want to just create something awesome for everyone. And I see a lot of you have found the chat already. Fantastic. You see there on the right tab, you have a chat option. I see a bunch of people are checking in from all over the country. Fantastic. But yeah, it's great to have everybody on. So yeah. we figured, go ahead, Halcyon.
Oh, I was just going to point out too, Erica's in the chat. So if you know Erica Lakey, she is one of our interns, and she will actually be helping us with this adventure as well, kind of as a producer role and a hosting role, and whatever else we can get her to do to help with this. So if you ever have any questions as well, she's available too as we go through these things.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no, we're real excited about that. If you follow us on our Facebook page, if you haven't done that, please, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, please follow us, because most of all of our updates to the foundation are going through that, especially Facebook. And it was really exciting. We launched this internship program where we had the intent of bringing on one intern to help with a lot of different things inside the foundation, but mainly to give them an opportunity to learn, to grow and kind of spread their wings in the industry, but also we need all the help we can get. We're a small nonprofit. So Erica is one of those awesome 9 interns that we brought on, and it's been a great start to that. So what we're going to do today, we kind of figured we would pick a pretty general topic. I know, Halcyon, today we're going to kind of talk about the state of the 911 industry. And then after we get into this, I know she's got some other ideas, some other topics that we're going to get into. Some of them can be very, frontline telecommunicator centric. Some of them may be very broad, like a broad stroke of what's going on in 911 or certain parts of 911. But obviously, this is a 911 public safety focused podcast where we're really going to dive in, and hopefully, if you're working in a 911 center, no matter what episode you listen to, hopefully there's some interesting information that you might be able to extrapolate from that. So I'll get it started, Halcyon. I really thought this would be a great way to kick off. We're at the beginning of a new year. It's crazy to think that it's 2023. It's still weird when I write the date. We're still in that little period of time where it's weird. And my son just turned 17, which just is totally blown my mind. So my oldest son Noah, with my late wife Denise, just had his 17th birthday a couple days ago. So I'm like still coming back to earth that my son is 17. But 911 is kind of in this really interesting space at the moment, in my opinion. We're coming out of the pandemic. It feels like we're never going to get totally out of it. You think you can go a couple days without seeing something about COVID and it still pops up on a news feed. Obviously, It's still a problem. It's still something we're going to continue to deal with. You also have this huge epidemic of staffing crisis in 911 and a lot of public safety. And we're planning, we're seeing that firsthand internally at the foundation, because we're seeing that, when we're talking to different 911 centers, when we talk to different, telecommunicators in 911. We're also talking to a lot of vendors in the industry when they're all starting their conference planning and what conferences they're going to attend. So I thought it would be interesting to get all of y'all's input also in the chat, please. As we're going through this discussion, please offer some insight. But what I really want to hit on is, in my opinion, is how is your center staffed at the moment? How many of you are feeling a staffing crisis? And if you are, or if you are not, I would really like to hear, what your challenges are. And also, if you are not having as much of a staffing crisis, what are you doing that might, be a secret to a lot of the other centers out there? And so anyway, Halcyon, that's really what I was hoping to get out of that. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no, I think staffing is a big thing. And like you mentioned, if you have topics, even looking ahead, that you want to see covered, please let us know in the chat. And we will definitely in other episodes talk about staffing some more, especially finding those who have been able to maintain staffing and talking with them and what they found that works or doesn't work. But I think that's a huge part, especially when we talk about how we're going back to in-person training. That's something we encounter, when we're going out and teaching. We don't necessarily get to talk to as many and teach as many because somebody has to run the center. So there's less that are able to go. So definitely we'll touch on that, but just in general as well, if you guys have any topics that you'd be interested in hearing more about, hearing from, subject matter experts and those kinds of things. It looks like people, Laramie is fully staffed, knock on wood, throw some salt, whatever you got to do, Laramie.
Laramie, somebody just quit. You just jinxed it.
Right.
Somebody just had a baby, quit something. I'm just joking. That's fantastic. And Laramie, if you can let everyone know in the chat, where are you located? I think that would help. And I know, please, elaborate if you want on what the magic formula is. Frederick, Maryland, that's my old stomping grounds where I grew up, 25 down. I was just teaching up there a few months ago. Halcyon, what do you think what is your opinion on what the biggest factor is right now? I know there's a lot of factors, but what do you think the biggest factor right now is in why staffing is such an issue?
I don't know if it's the biggest factor, but I know in my experience and kind of what I feel like has happened is before we were like short staffed, but kind of just competed within 911. And I think coming out of the pandemic and the Great Resignation and those types of events, now all of a sudden we are just competing with literally every place of employment. It's not, just other 911s or maybe this industry, it's literally you go anywhere and there's a hiring sign. So I think one of the big things we're facing too is how do we attract people to this career when they really kind of have a lot of options?
Yeah, I mean, it's super competitive. I mean, for example, going back to my 17-year-old son, he, when he turned 16, he was able to get a job, and we finally, he's got his license. We're like, hey, if you're going to drive the car, you need a job, and he can apply anywhere and get it. It's amazing how many different places are hiring, and he's just looking for a restaurant job, but let alone, a lot of these jobs that pay in the same pay range as 911. I know a lot of you feel this pain. I hear it all the time. It's not an easy, quick process to hire someone either. And I know a lot of you have felt the pain of when you finally find a good candidate that does apply, by the time you get them through the entire hiring and vetting process, they might have already found another position. So, I know that's a challenge. And obviously all of you agree, not everyone can do this job. So you always run into that. I tend to lean on the side of, and I think I'm a big fan of controlling your controllables, right? Control what you can control. And, too often we focus on things that we have no control over. We can't control what other jobs are paying. We can't control where people apply. We can control once we get them in the door, and once they are hired, I think we need to focus more on why are we losing people? Why are people leaving? How do we keep the qualified, awesome people? And doing exit interviews, finding out why they're leaving. As I talk to dispatchers all over, you hear many different options. One I hear very frequently is, well, they became a cop, or they became a firefighter, or it was a stepping stone. Okay, you can't avoid that. That's going to happen. That's always going to happen. Just check the box that you got somebody in there for a couple years, and now you have a field unit that understands how dispatch works. That's the bright side of that. Yeah. But I think, some of these systemic issues, like the snowball effect of compassion fatigue, of, dealing with not just the stresses of the job itself, but the internal politics, the dealing with coworkers, not holding people accountable. To me, that's where the focus needs to be. Let's control that and start figuring that part out.
Yeah, I kind of going back a little bit, Josh in the comments said we are currently talking with our commissioners to increase our pay to be able to compete with surrounding counties. And then Laramie mentioned, they're fully staffed. Currently, they're one of the higher paid agencies in a different area, but they're focusing on employee engagement and recognition. And I think those kind of two go together in the sense of, I think that's a very real issue in that it's not about the pay necessarily, whether it's, $1 million, but I think it is an issue when you are one of the lower paid agencies in an area that makes it difficult. Because if they love the job and they enjoy the job, and maybe in other ways the centers are equitable, I'm probably going to go to the job with a little bit of higher pay. But I also like at the same turn, for Laramie Center, where they're fully staffed, they're not just relying on that because it's not always about the pay. So they're still trying to find ways to keep people, and knowing that, okay, we might be one of the higher paid agencies, but that's not going to keep people. That might get them in the door, but it's not going to keep them here.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you read the APCO Pro Chart study that came out. I think it's been 5 or 6 years now. Please don't hold me to that. I don't know, and I should have had it prepared because I knew we were going to be talking about this topic. If you all want access to like what that is, I don't have the actual document, but I can point you in the right direction. But this study, we use it in our quality assurance training sessions, our quality assurance class. We actually use it a lot of times with the agencies that our foundation helps do QA for, because that's one of the things the foundation does. This is not what that's about, but the study was actually talking about staffing and why people are leaving, or what was job dissatisfaction like, and the reasons for job dissatisfaction. And they highlighted the top 6 reasons. And what's crazy about that is the top 6 reasons didn't include pay. And I think,
did I lose Nathan, or is it me? Can't tell if it's on my end, but we will keep going. Are you there? Okay. Are you back?
I got booted. Anyway, okay. I think I stopped with, we get focused too much on the money side of things. And again, that a lot of times, like, hopefully I'm back now.
Yep. I can see you.
a lot of times, again, focusing on what we can control, you can always go ask for more money. You can try to raise the pay as much as you can, but again, that can sometimes more likely than not be a losing battle. And I think, the top reason was accountability, was, coworkers not being held accountable. That was the biggest frustration. The reason they weren't satisfied with their job is they felt like they were carrying more weight than they should, that there wasn't a consistent level of way things were done. People were getting to do certain things certain ways. And quality assurance obviously is a big part of that, because that QA program really is what helps give you a good barometer of what's happening in your center. So, so I would just be really curious to see, the thoughts on everyone else. And hopefully everyone can still hear me in the chat. If you guys can let me know. All I see in the chat is that I was frozen. So hopefully
I can hear you, but that's what Roxy mentioned. Pay is one component in a bigger pie. Too many people miss that part. Engagement, recognition, culture, it all plays in. I think accountability is huge too. Yeah. And I think sometimes just even we as humans, we want to make it really simple for ourselves and say like, oh, it must be the pay. Right. But it's more complicated than that.
Right. So the takeaway from this, and from my perspective, and again, those of you that aren't super familiar with my background, obviously I founded the Denise Amber Lee Foundation. Denise was my wife. I'm not in dispatch. I'm not a dispatcher. I've never been one. But I have been in a lot of centers. I've been to 48 states now. I'm still waiting for Hawaii and Alaska to invite me. So if anybody's watching from those states, my calendar's open. Please, let's book the tickets. But I think my biggest takeaway from this in attacking the staffing is let's look internally at what is the culture? What is our culture? What is the vibe in the center? And one of the easiest ways to do that, at least from what I've heard, and I would assume would be an easy way, is just are you using a QA program? Do you have a consistent quality assurance program? What is the objective of the QA program? A lot of times agencies decide to start reviewing 911 calls, unfortunately, with the objective of we just want to find all the bad things so that we don't get sued. Because a lot of times QA programs are named after someone who did something that somebody died and now they got fired, and they just want to make sure it's not happening somewhere else. And so yeah. I really preach this is your QA program. Yes, it is going to find those types of things, hopefully before they happen, and those risky habits that might be starting to form. But you can start hearing the issues going on with your telecommunicators. You can start seeing the job performance starting to suffer, and you can get a good barometer of seeing when these people are starting to be pushed to the brink. Obviously, with staffing the way it is, your staff is going to be working extra overtime. They're going to be getting mandated. They're going to be getting denied different things. But as long as they know while they're working those 14, 15, 16-hour shifts that they're appreciated, and that they still hey, we're working on getting this thing fixed. We're doing the best we can. We're going to stay in this together and keep moving forward. If they feel that appreciation, I've got to think that would help keep people there, even if they can go somewhere else and make more money. If they like where they work, if they know their management supporting them, their coworkers are supporting them, they're all in it together, they can really, really get people through these tough times. And hopefully, 911's had staffing issues for as long as I can remember, but now it just seems that, it's worse than it's ever been, at least from what I'm hearing. So
yeah, well, and it is. QA should be for for improvement, non-punishment, and just like we can use it and find out all these bad things. That's when you can find out all the really good things, like how good your people really are. On all those calls that aren't significant, but they had great customer service skills, for lack of a better term, or they went above and beyond that. They're not going to say that about themselves because it's just not what we do. And nobody else necessarily may say anything because maybe they work alone or they were busy, or again, we just aren't used to recognition necessarily. So it's really the time, that you're able to capture that stuff. And then along with quality assurance, one thing I've talked about in sessions recently too is stay interviews. A lot of people do exit interviews. Why are you leaving? But I've found not nearly as many people are doing stay interviews and asking the people who are still there, why are you sticking around? If these people are deucing out, what's keeping you here in this chair? Because sometimes that can be really telling as well. And even to help you find out why the people around you, what's motivating for them. Are they citing personal reasons? Are they citing environmental reasons, job related reasons? What is it keeping them? And also gives you insight on that front too.
Well, look, Halcyon, you work for the foundation, and if you decided to leave, I would really want to. Yes. I hope you don't, but if you decide to leave, I would want to know why, right? Right. I would want to know, and we're just full disclosure, internally as an organization, we're about to sit down, you and I, and we're going to talk about how this last year went. This was your first year with the foundation. We're going to talk about the things that went well. Hey, what can we do better? I want to know how I can do better. I want you to love working for the foundation. And that's the mindset that right. Leadership in 911 needs, right? One of the problems is you have a lot of your dispatchers are typically civilian, but are working for a law enforcement agency. And you have civilian management for the most part, at least to a certain point, but then you have, a sworn element there that may be a revolving door, and that happens. It's just the way it is. That tends to be a big issue that none of us in this room necessarily can fix. But it's just really important that, look, again, we can't control that. We got to control what we can control. So as much as that gets frustrating, we just need to constantly be trying to make this environment the best it possibly can. Don't not send a survey out like the stay interview or the stay survey or the exit survey, and because you're just worried about what you're going to find out. And there might be some things in there that are totally ridiculous, right? You can't please everyone. You got certain people, you all can name them right now in your head, that are just going to complain about anything. But there are certain people that like, hey, if they're saying something that's going on, you take that with a lot more credence and, look in the mirror and figure out how you can make it better. Leaving your ego at the door is one of the hardest things to do for any of us. And I used to name this the 1 hour version of Denise's story, Leave Your Ego at the Door, because that's really ultimately, one of the big things is, don't be afraid to try to be the best you can. So, yeah.
So just really quickly, for anybody who hasn't heard of a stay interview, a Google search will get you some examples of what those look like. Roxy again brings up a good point, but if you act like you don't care while they are there, they aren't going to think you care why they're going, which is also true. We can't act one way and then people start leaving. We go, oh my gosh, what's going on? I wanted you guys to stay. Why are you leaving? Consistency. And I think that also goes back to what you mentioned, accountability, are kind of common threads that run through the staffing issues as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, if you can even just keep in one, even if you send out a stay survey and it just helps one person stay, then it was 100% worth it. Because that's just one person more that you all are dealing with it enough. So I think that's a cool homework assignment. I'm not that we're going to be giving out homework on this thing, but it would be interesting if you guys, I would love to hear, if you guys decide, if you don't do it already, and you decide to do something like this, send it out and reach back out to us. Let us know how it goes. Maybe in a few weeks or another month or so down the road, we can revisit this and kind of see how a lot of you, were able to see if it helped and what kind of information you got back. I'd also love to hear from you if you do that already. Let us know how it works. And we're going to work on, this is still a new endeavor. So we're going to be working on trying to keep everyone together, kind of follow the series along. We might work out like a Facebook group or something that we can have everybody join. We can share information, keep everybody in the loop. But the biggest thing is reach out to Halcyon and I will have our contact information at the end of this. And we'd love to help out and get you in touch with people that can help. That's what we got to do. We got to stay together. It takes a village. So, all right. So, I love this. I mean, you guys have been awesome in the chat. I can't multitask. I told you guys I wasn't a dispatcher, right? I can't do this job. So I'm trying to, I've just been staring at the PowerPoint slide and because that's keeping me focused. I try to peek over it and see what the comments say. Roxy, thank you so much. Roxy Van Gundy, with all your input. One of the coolest things that Roxy does is they have a TikTok channel for the dispatch center. I think that's one of the coolest things ever. It keeps their people engaged. It keeps it fun. Reach out to Roxy, and get some info on that because I think I love it. They come up with some really cool, creative ways to keep their people engaged and their community engaged. It's awesome to see light being shown on dispatch every now and then because it is such a critical part of this whole thing. So that's really fantastic. So, Halcyon, I kind of just came up with the Facebook group thing on the fly here, so we'll try to figure that thing out. Simone wants it, so yeah.
So I think we'll wrap up that part. This is
Yep.
also the reason we're keeping it shorter, to make sure that we don't just keep going. So really quickly though, if you have topic ideas, again, feel free to send them to us. If you know someone or you have a specific topic you'd love to get on, discuss, kind of do a mini training discussion on, please reach out to me. We really, having it titled EC Essentials was intentional in the sense that it really like lets us cover kind of whatever. If it touches the ECC, like Nathan mentioned before, if it touches the 911 industry, our world, we can talk about it. And if some people are interested, there's a very likely good chance that other people would be interested in it as well. So any last thoughts on that, Nathan?
No, I think there's the one thing that's consistent in 911 is probably one of the only consistent things. As a lot of you know, 911 is so different everywhere. But one of the most consistent things is that everybody's fighting the same battles. The consistency is the challenges that you all are facing. And APCO, NINA, some of your those organizations have some great ways to keep in touch and get into chat groups and share ideas. We're trying to do that as well. We want to be a resource for that, especially in your training and quality assurance needs. I mean, we're trying to help agencies as best we possibly can with all those things. And so one of the cool things that the foundation's doing, just a couple things as we wrap up, if you didn't know, the foundation in just a couple weeks, we're in the final stretch, we're in the home stretch here. But in just a few weeks, we're going to be doing our first ever live conference. It's in Myrtle Beach, called Be the Difference. It's at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. Registration is still open. This is pretty close. If you can make the magic happen, if you haven't registered already, we'd love to see you there. We partnered with Adam Tim of the Healthy Dispatcher, who has helped us curate our entire schedule. We have some amazing speakers that are going to be presenting. It's a little different than most of your, the conferences, if you've all been to a state or a national conference. We've extended our breakout sessions from, typically at a conference, you have an hour breakout session. We're doing 2-hour breakout sessions. It's really hard. Those of you that have done a session before, it's hard to get anything out in an hour. And it's really hard to retain things in just an hour. So we're excited about the longer breakout sessions. We have vendors involved, and hopefully we are in the planning stages for our next year's conference. We're not sure of the location quite yet, but we will be doing a Be the Difference too. We're not sure. Again, it might be in Myrtle Beach. It may be in some other places. I'm going to hold off on a couple of the places that we're looking at, not to get anybody's hopes up, but we'll be very, very soon announcing the location for next year's also. So put it in your budget, block out some money for next year so you all can, we can see you all in person at next year's Be the Difference conference.
Yes.
Next, I'm excited. It's getting crazy though. I'm a little nervous. Coming up very quick.
Yes, it is. So if you do email Nathan and you don't hear anything back till like February 5th, that is why.
No. You can email me. I'll respond. It's just going to be a little crazy that last week of January.
Yeah. It'll be a good time though. I'm excited to see everyone. And we do have a couple other things we want to just tell you guys about since we kind of have the platform at the moment. We will be launching a Be the Difference online course scholarship. Thanks to Motorola and a grant from them. Keep an eye out. We'll be putting that sign up form out on Facebook and through our newsletter as well. And then we also have something new coming March 1st, but that's all I'm going to say about that. So it's
training related.
It's training related.
You might have to go online to get access to it. But that's all. You guys can put the pieces together. Sorry, that was too much.
I'm not inviting Nathan to anything anymore. Yes, keep that in mind. We will let you know, but keep an eye out for that scholarship application form that will be coming out soon. And then I think lastly, if you want to reach out to myself, it is Halcyon, HALCYON @DeniseAmberLee.org. And Nathan is
Nathan.
I thought
you were going to read it. You don't have it memorized by now? I'll put it in the chat. I'll put Halcyon's in mine. We should have had it on the slide. We'll do that for the next one. Again, kinks, people.
Yes.
This is our first one.
We're learning. Nathan @DeniseAmberLee.org.
Yeah.
He didn't pick up on my passing it off to him. But kicking it off in 2 weeks with a topic kind of near and dear and easy for me, at least. With Chris Nichols, we'll be doing Adult Learning Basics. Again, this will be every other Thursday, 2 Central, 3 Eastern, about 20 to 30 minutes. And then after that, we will let you know when we get it uploaded to YouTube and the audio formats to the different podcasting platforms. But I think that covers what we came here to cover today, Nathan.
Yeah, I think so. And please, like I said, I mentioned this already, please on social media, follow us. We have a mailing list that you can join. So it's really, you can, I believe that the text 66866 is the, you can text that number and that'll add you to our mailing list. So you can do that. That's how you can keep in touch with a lot of the things we have going on. What I'm really excited about, it looks like Halcyon might have just left. What I'm really excited about is the training. We're getting back into the swing of things with in-person training. So if your agencies are looking for some training topics and some people to bring in, we have an awesome training crew, training team from all over the country, and we'd love to come out. And I'm amazed. Next week is actually going to be the 15th anniversary of Denise's death, and it's crazy to think that 15 years later I'm still telling the story. It's the most awesome thing I could have ever imagined, was to be able to see Denise make such an impact. So I can't thank you all enough for that. The industry for that. It's been the best therapy I could have ever imagined, to be able to, kind of fall into the most compassionate, caring industry and the most compassionate, caring people I thought I'd never meet. So it's exciting. And so that's what we've got in store for this year. It's going to be fun. We're lucky as heck to have Halcyon as part of our team, and she's been doing some fantastic things. Erica and our intern team have done some fantastic things already. So we're real excited about that. But I'm gonna stop talking because I'll just keep talking all day. But thank you all for being a part of this first ECC Essentials podcast, and it's been great.
Yeah. One last thing really quickly. We do have our webinar Wednesday coming up on the 25th. So make sure you register for that. But I will, I think that's all I have. So I will also stop talking.
I will finish with a quote.
Okay.
The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So good men and women, you can add the women, sorry, it's just what the quote says. But you can just sit around and expect things to be better. But if we just sit around, nothing's ever gonna get better. So go back, do what you can. One little thing, it might make such a huge impact on not only your staff, but somebody that you serve's life. So thank you all so much for what you do. We really appreciate it. We'll see you for the next one.